Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. We are so excited to have you again. The situation that the country has currently found itself does not really need a soothsayer or a prophet to predict the future if things continue the way it is going. Yesterday there was this news that was very viral, and it talked about the outcome of the meeting between Shegumi and Obasanjo, how they have drawn a conclusion that they have to meet the federal government about the issue of rehabilitating bandits who have been involved in traumatizing Nigerians and causing all manner of mayhem. That is high time they need to sit in a round table, negotiate, and possibly rehabilitate them, cause them to go to school, take up their children, and train them. Possibly it will help to reduce the rate of bandits. So many Nigerians were on the social media, and they were questioning this kind of decision that two persons, one had been in leadership for so long, and the other one, we don't know where he resurfaced from, but he had been speaking on behalf of the bandits. Nigerians are just wondering why they should think in that direction. And right now we have two key clerics that we want to look at what they have to say about it, because the situation that we have found ourselves, no one is so sure that this One Nigeria project will still be in existence if this kind of thing is playing in the minds of our own leaders. But first of all, let's look at what Nigerians have to say, or the opinion of some very key elder statements and also clerics in our society. But before we continue with details of the news and further analysis, we'd like to encourage you to please subscribe to our channel by hitting the red subscribe button and also the bell icon so that you can get notification anytime we publish our videos. Now, according to the news, two prominent clerics, Reverend Father Matthew Kukah and Pastor Tunde Bakare, had advised the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, over the high level of insecurity in Nigeria, warning that the country is rapidly descending into anarchy. The Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Kukah, in his Easter message on Sunday, said the Buhari regime was taking care of repented Boko boys and other insurgents, but lack empathy for their victims. In his Easter message titled "The Conspicuous Handwriting on the Wall," the overseer of the Citadel Global Community Church, Bakare, said Nigeria was in a state of emergency, adding that her health was in danger. Kukah, in his message titled "Nigeria Before Our Glory Departs," obtained from Abuja, recalled that Buhari on May 29, 2015, during his inauguration, said that insurgency is a typical case of small fire causing large fires. The Catholic priest lamented that before Buhari's watch, the fire are consuming the nation, and in many instances they indeed start small. Kukah also hit the Buhari regime for rehabilitating insurgents, saying it was a clear demonstration of the regime's lack of feeling for victims of banditry and insurgency who were left to mourn their dead ones and pay ransom to free their relative. Kukah said the recent War Happiness Report stated that Nigeria was one of the unhappiest nations in the world, which is true. He said, "This is unacceptable but understandable. Our clear-footed fight against corruption has not moved the needle of transparency forward. Of course, being the poverty capital of the world comes with its reward, and such as banditry, violence, death, sorrow, poverty, misery, and tears. Our cup of sorrow is permanently full, hence the exponential rise in the frustration curve across the country. Sadly, human life is hemorrhaging so badly in Nigeria, but the greatest strategy is the death of empathy from those in power. Mysteriously, the government is investing billions of naira in rehabilitating the so-called insurgents that have repented, and their other partners in crime in belief they want to turn a new leaf. These criminals have waged war against their country, murdered thousands of citizens, destroyed infrastructure, and rendered entire families permanently displaced and dislocated. Why should rehabilitating the perpetrators be more important than bringing succor to the victims? A big question. When people are kidnapped and they are victims and their families are left to their wit, they cry alone, bury their loved ones alone. And our government expects us to be patriotic. The victim of violence need empathy, which the dictionary define as the ability to understand and share the feelings of the others. A critical deficit of empathy on the side of the government makes healing almost impossible for the victim. We have not heard anything about a rehabilitation program for thousands of school children who have been victims of abduction. We seem to assume that their return to their school is sufficient. Left unaddressed, the traumatic effect of their horrors will haunt them for a long time. Tomorrow's parents, military generals, top security men and women, governors, senators, and ministers will come from today's pool of traumatized children. The security quandary is the greatest indictment of this government. When government faces legitimacy crisis, they fall back on saving the sore brute of propaganda, half-truths, and outright lies. They manufacture consent by creating imaginary enemies, setting citizens against one another by deploying religion, ethnicity, region, and other platforms, while appealing to the base emotion of patriotism. Kukah expressed disappointment that Buhari could not match his word with action, having boasted that during his inaugural speech to extinguish the fire of insurgency. He added, the rumbling over the wearing of a hijab in Kwara State suggests that we have not seen the end of individuals sacrificing national cohesion to feed their personal ambition by starting small fires. Most politicians hardly think through a long-term effect of these Syriac victories of using religion when started as a small fire with abduction of Sharia in Zamfara in 1999 spread across the northern state. Ordinary people broke into ecstatic joy. Today, what has become of the north? What are their lessons? Bakare, who was Buhari's running mate in the 2011 presidential election, recalled how the president, who contested on the platform of the Congress for Progressive Change, broke down in tears at a press conference because of his passion for Nigeria. He quoted Buhari to have said, I have decided to dedicate the remainder of my life to fighting for the people of this country. The cleric who traced the history of the formation of the All Progressive Congress said the situation in Nigeria was not the dream both he and Buhari had for the country. He stated, I am compelled to speak out because this is not the Nigerian General Muhammadu Buhari and I had dreamed to create when he invited me to be his running mate in 2011. I am compelled to speak out because the state of the nation does not represent the Buhari I knew when we took the solemn journey towards rebuilding Nigeria. I am compelled to speak out at this point because, given the state of the nation, the legacy of President Muhammadu Buhari is in grave danger of being confined to an unsavory side of history. I am indeed compelled to speak out because Nigeria is in the state of emergency. According to him, in medicine, an emergency is defined as an acute injury or illness that poses an immediate risk to a person's life or long-term health, sometimes referred to as a situation risking life or limb. For many years, Nigeria was in the intensive care unit of the universe. Bakare stated that Nigeria was in a critical state and that her survival was hanging in the balance, adding that she had been rushed to the emergency room. He said, among others, the aim of his address was to ensure that President does not fall victim to what is historically described, especially in American politics, as the second-term cause. According to him, political analysts describe the second-term cause as the perceived tendency of second term of U.S. presidents to be less successful than their first term. Bakare recalled Bakare recalled that when Shehu Shagari administration was overthrown in 1983, Buhari, as a military head of state, alleged that the civilian administration lacked the financial discipline and prudent management of the economy. He also said Buhari accused Shagari administration of depending largely on internal and external borrowing to execute government projects with attendant domestic pressure and sowing external debt. Bakare said this essay of the December 31st, 1983 speech by the then General Muhammadu Buhari told the unfortunate story of how the administration of President Shehu Shagari had succumbed to the so-called second-term curse. Some would even argue that in an ironic turn of events, the reflection of General Muhammadu Buhari on the Shagari administration succinctly described Nigerian current reality under the civilian administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Quoting words of Irish poet W.B. Yeats, popularized by the late Chinwe Achebe, he stated, "These things are falling apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loose upon our land." He said, despite government's claim of technically defeating insurgents, the insurgents were overrunning more villages and taking the lives of our soldiers. He stated that nearly 7 years after 112 Chibok girls were kidnapped, the girls and Lee Sharibu, who was abducted in Dapchi, Yobe State in 2018, has not been rescued. Bakare noted the start-up kidnap industry has secure funding and has now scaled from Dapchi to Kangara and elsewhere. We have experienced the cycle of abduction of school children, alleged ransom payments, sometimes in hundreds of millions of naira, the release of the abducted school student, the denial by the government of any ransom paid, followed by the next cycle of abduction. Nigerians are then left wondering which school will be next. If our schools degenerate into kidnap hotbeds on this administration watch, not even the school feeding program can encourage over 10 million out-of-school children to enroll in a school. In fact, the number of out-of-school students can be expected to rise with the swelling ranks of people whom parents are scared to return them to their school, adding, not even the president's controversial shot-on-sight order for illegal bearers of AK-47 guns can prove sufficient to abate this issue. According to him, the bringing down of dozen of rice farmers in Garin Gwasebe in Borno State is a clear indication of the limitation of window dressing in governance intervention. Bakare stated, it clearly reminded us that if farmers remain unsafe for farm, our brilliant agricultural intervention policy will suffer in the long run because they do not address the root problems. He added that the regime was still battling with corruption issue, including the opaqueness of the fuel subsidy regime, which the Goodluck Jonathan administration was criticized for. The Clerics advised the president to restructure the country before handing over in 2023. The greatest demand on the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is to facilitate the emergence of legitimate regional governance framework that can fill the vacuum and flush out the illegitimate structures, he said. The president on Sunday responded to Kukah's message, saying the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese did not speak like a man of God. The senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, said this in a statement titled Kukah Buhari Badging is Ungodly. Shehu said, since Kukah professed to be a man of God, ideology should not stand in the way of fact and fairness. He said the bishop played politics in some of his submissions in the Easter message. The statement read, all citizens have their individual ideology, even their own version of truth. But if you profess to be a man of God, as Father Matthew Hazan Kukah does, ideology should not stand in the way of fact and fairness. Father Kukah has said some things that are inexplicable in his Easter message, but in saying that the insurgency is worse than it was in 2015, he did not speak like a man of God. Kukah should go to Borno or Adamawa to ask the citizen the difference between 2014 and 2021. Furthermore, hijab issue in Kwara State on which he dwells is a state matter which the court of the land have abjugated. They are matters that have appeared in several states as far back as the Obasanjo administration. In all of that, when and where did the name of President Buhari feature? He's playing partisan politics by dragging president into it. an administration that had created a whole ministry for the first time in the country's history, appropriating enormous resources to it to deal with issues of internal displacement person, cannot in all rightfulness be accused of not caring for them. Some of the comments are no more than a sample of unrestrained rhetoric Father Kukah's trade in, which he often does in the guise of a homily. We urge well-meaning citizens to continue to support the ongoing effort by the administration to secure the country and move it forward. You've heard what the people have said. I can't add anything to it because it's very explicit, though it's like a little bit of rumbling here and there between the president's statement and the homily of Matthew Kukah, but everything is very distinct. Go to our comment section, let's interact. What do you think about what Kukah has said? Is there any display of partisan politics in it, or is it that he hates this current administration, or by your judgment, do you think he's saying the absolute truth? Let's interact in our comment section.